Resale versus new construction. You already know the cost differences, but today we're breaking down the timelines, the delays, and the actual day-to-day stress of both options. Most people are in either one of two situations. Either you need to sell your current house in order to buy your next house and need to use the sale of buyer's property condition, or you don't need to sell a house to buy a house. Maybe you're a first-time home buyer, or maybe you already have financing lined up. That means you can make a clean offer without a condition attached. I know it sounds simple, but depending on which situation you're in and whether you're buying resale or new construction, completely changes your timelines, your stress level, and honestly, your whole experience. I'm Jon Murray, your Halifax real estate guide, and this is episode 2 of my resale versus new construction series. If you haven't seen episode 1, where we talked about the costs of resale versus new construction, go ahead and check out that video. But today we're putting away the spreadsheet and we're going to talk about your sanity. Point by point, we're going to look at how these two paths actually feel to live through, because choosing the wrong option can honestly blow up your moving timeline before you even see it coming. The first thing you'll feel is the pace, and honestly these two options could not be any more different than each other. So with resale, you need to think of it like a sprint. A family puts their house on the market, and a typical closing is going to be about 30, 60 to 90 days. Now, the closing date will be set in stone. That means that's not going to change, but the logistical stresses are still there. That means packing, getting your house clean, sorting out movers. It's chaotic, but it's predictable chaos. And you know when it's going to end. New construction, on the other hand, is more like a marathon, and sometimes one where someone keeps changing the finish line. Now, a lot of the builders are great with their timelines, but you need to mentally add 2 to 3 months just to be safe. Things like weather, permits, trades running behind. There's all kinds of things that can delay the finishing of your new build. Let's say you sold your home and it's due to close in 60 days, and you're expecting to be able to move into your new home sometime within that time frame. Then you get a phone call saying your home's actually not going to be ready for another 90 days. Well, you need to have a place to stay for those 30 days and also someplace to store your things. You need to plan ahead for these contingencies, because in new construction, the timeline is always moving. Next, let's look at the SOBP condition, otherwise known as sale of buyer's property. Now, if you're in the boat that a lot of people find themselves in, it means you have to sell your house in order to buy another one. That means if you put your house on the market and you're out shopping for a home, your offer is going to be conditional upon you having a firm agreement of the sale of your home. This can be incredibly hard to time, especially in a quick moving resale market. Also, this type of offer honestly is not attractive to most sellers. They want more of a sure thing so they can get from point A to point B. Also, if you are fortunate enough to get an accepted offer, unless you have a financing letter that states that you can carry 2 properties at the same time, at any point another buyer may come in and potentially kick you out of that deal. It can be a headache. There are workarounds for it. I have strategies in particular I use with my buyers that we do work around this issue at times. If you want to know those, you're going to have to reach out to me directly. Now, let's look at the new construction side of things with an SOBP. Because new construction tends to move a bit slower than resale depending on the development, and the timelines are a lot longer, your SOBP offer is usually much safer with a new build. You run substantially less risk of someone coming and kicking you out of that deal, which enables you to strategically put your house on the market and time things correctly. Now, in saying that, you still need to have contingencies built in, such as places to stay, depending on build times, and of course, you're going to need to secure the financing, so you're going to need to speak with a mortgage professional to make sure you set everything up. But either way, it's a little bit less stressful than the quick moving resale market. I also want to look at when timelines don't exactly match up. So typically what I do with my sellers when they're also purchasing a home is we always try and time the sales close together, but we always try and time our purchase a little bit before the closing of the sale of our house. That allows my clients to have time to move into that new house, get their old house clean for the new buyers, and have a little bit less stress. Now, the way they do that is through a bridge loan. Basically, once they have the agreements in place, we make sure they qualify to carry the 2 mortgages for a short period of time. Usually, this is the least stressful way of doing things, as long as they can actually swallow the difference for whatever time period that is. With a new build, you usually have close to a year to align your dates which can also decrease the chances of you ever needing a bridge loan in the first place. However, like we talked about with delays on the builder side, it's definitely still a possibility. I wouldn't rule it out. Let's talk about something that doesn't get a ton of attention, but it really should: mortgage rate anxiety. Now, when you set up a pre-approval, that rate is typically held for either 90 or 120 days, which when you're buying a resale home, that's great. Once you get an accepted offer, that rate locks in, you hold it, you're stress-free. You know what rate you're getting, you know what payments you're getting, everything's done. However, with new builds, the timelines can be further than that 120 days. We're talking 10 months, 11 months, 12 months. So you're kind of at the whim watching the Bank of Canada and see what they're doing with the rates, depending on which construction draw you're at and what interest rate you're going to be paying. However, there are some banks that will actually hold your rate for a year on the first construction draw. So make sure you have a mortgage partner that specializes in new construction. It's going to be really important in your process to take some of this stress away. Finally, I want to talk about the stress of inspections versus deficiencies. Now, on a resale purchase, your condition dates are typically between 10 and 14 days if you're lucky. The inspection day can be stressful for both sides because you're buying a home that has history and you're not always sure what you're going to uncover when the home inspector gets in there. You may also find issues with the septic system or the sewer line. The good news is you do have some time to negotiate after that if anything really serious comes up, or the ability to walk away and wash your hands. However, this still is a stressful process, but it's important because you need to know everything about the home you're going to purchase. Now, with new construction, the stress comes at a different time. First, we're going to do a deficiency walkthrough before closing. That means we walk through with painter's tape and basically mark every little deficiency we find before you move in to give the builder time to come back and fix these up. These are things like nail pops, paint chips, squeaky floors, things like that. The builders are good to come in, fix those up, enabling you to move in with ease. The stress can come after you move in during that first year as things start to settle with the home, because you will see more nail pops and paint chips. You might see some foundation cracks as things settle in. That's normal. The issue is what some people have if they don't choose the right builder is actually getting the builders to come back and fix this under your 1-year builder's warranty. So choosing the right builder is going to be very important to decrease these stress levels. And if you want to know who the best builders are here, you just have to give me a call. I also want to talk about what I call decision fatigue versus renovation reality. Part of new construction that people like to romanticize about is choosing all of the finishes. And this does sound amazing until you're sitting in the design room for several hours, honestly paralyzed between 12 different shades of white that look nearly identical. You might also be trying to decide if the upgraded cabinetry is worth the money, or that you're getting too deep into upgrades and going over your budget. You do need to take a step back and enjoy the process, but this can be fatiguing and it does sneak up on you quickly. With resale, you get to skip all of that. You're buying something that's already there. Now, there is a chance you find your dream home on the resale market and you don't change a thing. If you do that, congratulations, it's rare. There's always going to be something that you want to change or personalize for yourself, whether it's a bathroom renovation, a kitchen renovation, could be painting, could be flooring. And during that process, you have to deal with different contractor quotes, contractor delays, and also be prepared to live in a bit of a construction zone for a while. If you're renovating a kitchen, you might have to do your dishes downstairs in the bathroom sink. These are just things you're going to worry about down the road as opposed to that decision making upfront with new construction. Here's the truth. Both paths are hard. You just need to decide which hard is right for you. If you need help planning out your timeline or mapping out this situation, my information will be on screen. Because I'm an analytical thinker, I have a tremendous track record with my sellers and buyers making this process as smooth as possible. I hope you got value and enjoyed today's episode, but money, timelines, and stress are only part of the equation. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss episode 3 when I talk about established neighborhoods versus moving into new developments. I hope to see you then, and I'll see you on the next video.